Hi all, thanks for being here. I'm going to ask a very important question today, and that is why the two-state solution is dead under Trump. What if I told you that the dream of a two-state solution isn't just slipping away, it's being crushed under the weight of bulldozer, bombs and political cowardice? Now that Donald Trump is back in the White House, the far-right government in Israel has a green light, not for peace, but for more settlements, more occupation and more violence. Hi, I'm Tony Tonkins, social worker, political commentator and someone who hasn't stopped believing in human rights. I'm going to spend some time today unpacking what's really stopping a two-state solution. So I'm using insights from a recent Sydney Morning Herald article and the broader global political mess we're now in. So I'm going to break it down for you now, and I'm going to refer to the article itself, whereby it's titled "World Leaders Risk a Trump Backlash to Turn on Israel." And Sir Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron have been working their phones hard over the past week to form a diplomatic convoy that could, if they have their say, stop the starvation in Gaza. The British Prime Minister and French President have tried to engineer a policy shift that has been disputed for decades, to recognise the Palestinian state in the belief that this is the best way to pressure Israel to end the war. Like ships in a fleet, leaders have been turning together. The coordination has been relentless. Macron began the move last week with a unilateral declaration that France would recognise the state of Palestine. Now, after all the signalling between leaders, there is even a large group of nations backing that call. And that large group of nations includes Australia. So the reality is here that that Prime Minister Netanyahu and his ultra-national allies have been emboldened by Trump's return. They've outright rejected any possibility of a Palestinian state. Trump's silence, or worse, his open praise, means Israel faces no real pressure from its biggest ally. That's not diplomacy. That's complicity. Settlements are carving up the West Bank, as we well know. Israel continues to expand settlements deep into occupied Palestinian territory. Over 700,000 settlers now live in areas that were supposed to be part of a future Palestinian state. It's not just symbolic, it's tragic land theft. International willpower has collapsed. The SMH article highlights how world leaders are terrified of Trump's backlash. They know if they recognise Palestine or criticise Israel's policies, they could face economic or diplomatic retaliation from Washington. So, in their wisdom, they choose to do nothing. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned of a point of no return, and we might already be there. Spoilers are thriving on both sides. Hamas in Gaza continues to reject any peace plan that includes Israel. Israeli extremists in Netanyahu's coalition want to fully annex the West Bank. And Trump? He cheers them both on with his usual bravado and his amazing ignorance. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza is a moral catastrophe. Gaza is being starved, bombed and isolated. Aid is blocked, journalists are silenced, and civilians, mostly women and children, are dying. Trump calls it necessary. But this isn't strategy, it's collective punishment. So why is the world so paralysed? With Trump back in power, countries like France, Australia and Canada are scared to act. They're worried about sanctions, trade deals and diplomatic tantrums from Trump. And so they whisper their support for a two-state solution and then back away. So what happens next then? The two-state dream dies a quiet death unless we raise our voices. We must call out the injustice, the hypocrisy and the cowardice, especially when it comes from powerful leaders like Donald Trump. That's my breakdown. If you found this breakdown useful, hit like, subscribe, ring the bells, do what you need to do, and share it widely. I'm Tony Tonkin, and this has been your dose of unfiltered political reality. Stay loud, stay bold, and never, never stop demanding justice.